Welcome to Morgantown, where it's senior day for prolific quarterback Pat White. The school has honored him with a whiteout crowd, and the weather conditions have cooperated as well. It's an all-white night in West Virginia. Welcome to ESPN2 College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers. Tonight for the Big East Conference, the South Florida Bulls take on the West Virginia Mountaineers from chilly Morgantown, West Virginia. And right now, let's take a look at the Big East standings. Cincinnati sitting on top with a 6-1 record, followed by Pittsburgh and Rutgers at 5-2, and West Virginia at 4-2. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin along with Ed Cunningham, and a happy holiday season to you. This will get you in the Christmas spirit with this kind of weather. I'll tell you what else will get you in a great spirit, and that is the fact that tonight Pat White, among 17 other seniors playing their final game, he may be the greatest of all the Mountaineers that's ever worn the uniform.
It's been an amazing week around Morgantown as they've honored this young man, as they should. A good young man. He gets his degree next week. And who can forget some of the great wins that he has engineered here? Remember, go back to that 2006 Sugar Bowl against Georgia, shocked the college football world and showed that the spread offense was here to stay. And then, of course, last year when this place was in disarray, when Rich Rodriguez was leaving for Michigan, he went out into the desert and put a big win together against Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Two of the greatest wins in the history of this great program.
Not only Pat White, and we get to see him for the last time tonight, Grothy, the starting quarterback for South Florida. Folks, both of these guys can hit the 10,000 total offense yard mark tonight, which is incredible.
And it's never happened in this conference. So we've got two guys who may do it in the same night. Now, the bad news for Patrick White, we mentioned he's a senior. This is his last regular season game, is Matt Grothy is just a junior. So even though Pat White will end his career as the Big East leader in total offense, have a feeling Matt Grothy is going to catch and pass that next year.
Well, as we mentioned, it's a very special night, senior night, and they are being introduced right now. And in fact, let's join Travis Jones, and we're going to hear the ovation given the last 4 or 5 guys. I think you'll be interested in the attention White gets here tonight.
A long snapper from Princeton, number 46, Adam Hughes. A receiver from Greensboro, North Carolina, number 21, Darrell Jallah. A defensive back from Whistler, Alabama, number 2, Ellis Langster. A linebacker from Wilmington, Delaware, number 54, Jim Lewis. A defensive lineman from Naples, Florida, number 98, Pat Liebig. An offensive lineman from Central Square, New York, number 63, Stephen Mall. A tight end from Paris, Texas, number 86, Sammy Marone. A defensive lineman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, number 91, Doug Slavonic. A receiver from Springfield, Virginia, number 84, Ezra Talai. And now, your 2008 captains. A receiver from Tampa, Florida, a member of the Football Coaches Association Good Works team, number 83, Tito Gonzalez. A linebacker from Monroeville, Pennsylvania, this year's leading tackler, number 44, Morty Ivy. A kicker and punter from Plum, Pennsylvania, a Ray Guy Award national finalist and the school's all-time leading scorer, number 40, Pat McAfee. An offensive lineman from Cincinnati, Ohio, number 62, All-American, Ryan Stanchek. And And a quarterback from Daphne, Alabama, the holder of 16 WVU, Big East, and NCAA records, and the nation's all-time quarterback rushing leader, number 5, Pat White. And now, let's bring on the Mountaineers.
We'll get you ready for the opening kickoff when we return to Morgantown, and that is in just 60 seconds. Welcome back to Jimmy D Week on ESPN and the battle to wipe out cancer. It was Jim Valvano who memorably told us to never give up. The weather for tonight, and it's going to be a cold one. The temperature will continue to drop. It is 28 degrees right now. It feels like 21. And for the forecast, more snow. Let's go to the sideline and be joined by the third member of our broadcast team. And he's got more on the weather conditions tonight. Jack Harut, how is it down there?
Right, it's cold, but it's also snowing. And for Matt Grothe, it's the first time that he will be playing in the snow. In fact, all week, he was excited about the fact that he might get the chance to play in the snow. He said, the snow isn't going to bother me as long as there isn't wind, and that's the good news. There isn't. Hard to believe, but he is an Alabama kid. Pat White has never played in the snow either. I asked him, I said, well, what about the cold? He says, Jack, the cold doesn't bother me. The first thing I do when my defense goes out, I find a warm spot on the bench. I'm going to go try and find one now myself, okay?
Okay, Jack. The two head coaches in this ball game tonight. Bill Stewart, 7-4 record in his first season as the head coach at West Virginia. And the man across the way is the only head coach that the Bulls program has ever had. And, of course, we are talking about Jim Leavitt.
And I think it's his intensity that will keep him warm tonight. I don't know. I would suspect he doesn't even have very many layers on there. This man's heart races during a game.
Well, about 2.5 hours ago, we were sitting here in the booth. And we looked, and I turned to you. I said, isn't that Leavitt walking across the field? Didn't have a hat on, didn't have a coat on. And he was walking the full 100 yards, headed back to his locker room. So you're exactly right. His emotions run high, regardless of what's going on.
And he had an interesting thing to say about the cold. He said he hoped it was going to snow. He said because the young men will like that. They will enjoy it. And there he is coming through. I'm sure he had to dust off his hair by the time he got to
just, just a casual jaunt through the snow as Lancaster will take the kickoff and bring it out across the 40 to close to the 45-yard line. Pat White, 32 yards on the return, and West Virginia will have excellent starting field position.
And this is a defense that Pat White and West Virginia has really struggled against in the last 2 years. 32 total points in 2 straight losses to South Florida. Pat White banged up a couple of years ago, had an ankle sprain, still played but not well last year, was knocked out of the game with a thigh bruise. So not just looking up to put some numbers up, but he'd like to get through this game healthy.
Well, Jock Sanders is in the backfield at tailback along with the quarterback Pat White, and I have a feeling that is for formation purposes only. And in fact, he'll get the handoff, takes it to the right, and he'll have about 6 or 7 yards as Bowie knifes in from that left defensive end spot.
And Jock Sanders, a young man, when we met with Jeff Mullen, the first-year offensive coordinator that came up here from Wake Forest when the changeover happened, said if he had one critique of himself, it was that they didn't get the ball enough to Jock Sanders. Now with Patrick White and all of the Noel Devine, that's difficult, but they will try to get it to him more.
On second down, White, the left-hander, gets it out to Sanders. And Sanders is going to have the first down as he takes it inside the 50. Going to be a gain of 5. And Keon Wilson makes the tackle. We will call his name a lot tonight, number 42, along with 2 super outstanding defensive ends, George Selvey, number 95, and Jarrett Bowie, number 90. All very, very good players.
Yep, Keon Wilson is a junior college transfer his first year, and the coaches, Wally Burnham, the defensive coordinator, said he's really picked it up in the last few weeks.
So West Virginia, on their initial drive of the night, moves the chains on their first drive. And White, quick pass out on the far sideline, has it complete to Arnett. That's good for 8 yards, and Jerome Murphy is there to make the stop. Here are the impact players for South Florida.
Well, you mentioned George Selvey was a unanimous All-American last year. He's been battling an ankle injury. That's going to be slow on this slick field, I would suspect. McKenzie, the strong side outside linebacker, leads the team in tackles by over 35 tackles. And Carlton Williams, although a strong safety, will play a lot down in that nickel linebacker spot because of the spread offense tonight.
Sanders in the backfield again. Jala is the man who was in motion, number 21. And they give it to Sanders. Finds a little bit of breathing room, and that's enough for the first down in the vicinity of the 36. Keon Wilson there to make the tackle again. Let's go down to the sideline and check in once again with Jack Aru. Jack?
Ron, take a close look at Pat White's hands. He is wearing gloves. I asked him before the game. He said, I've practiced with him. I've also run some plays during games with him. He says, you got to remember, I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He says, doesn't Ben Roethlisberger wear gloves?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is. Well, pumps it once, looks back to the other side, and he's going to run it. And he is totally dangerous from this posture, and he's close to the first down as Jerome Murphy will stop him after a gain of 10.
And this is a new wrinkle to this offense. When Jeff Mullen came in, the thing that he studied was the 2 losses last year to South Florida and to Pittsburgh. And he noticed that they played all-man coverage and tried to lock the outside receivers down with their good corners. And so they put a little more drop-back package in there for Patrick White. He's picked it up very well. He's picked up the whole package quickly. And there he shows you even when he's covered, he's dangerous. He can get out and almost pick up the first down.
Even on a snow-covered field. Well, that pass is going to be a little high and incomplete. Jala was the intended receiver. Redshirt senior out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
And they went to a more pro-style passing attack when Coach Mullen got here. And Pat White has picked it up very well. And it's because of what South Florida has done to them the last couple of years defensively.
This is a 3rd down and short, and a down that we're going to talk about as Pat White takes it forward. Rogers takes it forward, actually. Now some of the players having to be separated besides where the play ended. And it looks as though from where the yellow line is, that's going to be enough for the first down. The point I was going to make, Ed, and we'll get you to talk more about this. Noel Devine, 170. Mark Rogers, running back, 185. Jock Sanders, 185. They're not very big at that position. They don't run a lot of tight ends into their ball games.
The ruling on the prior play is under review.
Yeah, they're obviously going to, I would assume, check the spot.
Yeah. And the other thing is no fullbacks.
Yeah.
So in short yardage situations, it's kind of tough on West Virginia. Pat White, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
He did hold on to the football.
Yeah, he did.
And
here's the shot that we'll see. You know, of course, losing Owen Schmidt from last year, talking about the fullback, that takes a big oomph out of there. I think he's right on that line. I think he did get the first down.
Yeah.
From that angle. Remember, it has to be indisputable video evidence. But you cannot discount losing a guy like Steve Slayton, who's gone on to the next level and is playing sensationally well on Sundays now. But you lose Owen Schmidt. And that option attack is something they kind of had to change a little bit.
Well, the official review continuing, and here comes the verdict.
After review, the play stands is called on the field. First down.
Bill Stewart says yes. I'd like that result there. You could see Pat White. He was being scooted along the ground because of the ice.
Yep.
After he was stopped. But the forward progress had been enough.
And he's got his cleats on. Pat White will go with a couple of different shoes on this surface, but because it is slick, he's wearing a little bit of a longer cleat tonight.
You and Jack and I had lunch with him yesterday, and he talked primarily about wearing straight tennis shoes. But I guess with the ice and snow, a little different situation as Sanders knifes his way through for a gain of 5. Tackled by McKenzie. Right now he is 16 yards away from that 10,000 number. You see the rushing and passing, excuse me.
Yep, and he is the NCAA's all-time leading quarterback rusher. He passed up Brad Smith earlier this year.
from the shotgun. 2nd down and 5. Great protection. Sings it out in the flat. And that's good for the first down to Jock Sanders. And in case you walked into the room late and just turned on our football game, this is the first time that South Florida has played a game, A, in snow, and B, with the temperature below freezing.
Well, it's a program that started at this level, the FBS level, Football Bowl subdivision, only in 2000. So not much history, and they were only in existence for 3 years prior to that. Jim Leavitt, as you mentioned at the top of the show, has been the only coach they've ever had. So not a ton of history, but in the Big East, they're going to play a few more of these down the road.
I think exactly right. Straight ahead, there's the first down with Sanders. Jock has it. McKenzie again on the stop. And you know, this may not be aesthetically wonderful, but with the footing as it is, and quite frankly, the footing on this surface is very good for the conditions. But I think if you can continue to do that, this may be the kind of ball game it's going to have to be by both teams, because South Florida likes to run the ball as well, Ed. Yeah,
and a little shocking that we've not seen Noel Devine. He's run for over 1,000 yards. No indication that he was hurt before the game. Just a shock we haven't seen him yet in this type of game.
Well, they want to throw back, and they do. Got a man open at the goal line. It is caught by Urban, and touchdown, West Virginia. No, that was pretty workmanlike. And that's the only way to put it.
Yep. Urban is over to the right. And then he starts coming back across. A good job, but this is an excellent throw by Pat White. The safety, the corner Jerome Murphy was late getting over there. There was trailing coverage by the linebacker McKenzie, but that was a good throw by White.
Extra point attempt. Ball is down, and McAfee has it. And as we go to break, one more look. Urban, his 2nd catch of the year. In fact, I think is of his career, for that matter. 7-0, West Virginia. Tonight's ESPN2 college football is presented in high definition, live and in color. Well, how about 10,000 on the nose for total offense after that drive, getting it into the end zone.
And exactly 100 touchdowns as well accounted for.
Isn't that something?
You almost want your career to end right on that number.
And for Urban, his 2nd touchdown catch, and only his 2nd catch of his career. So pretty good start for him tonight as well. Reason for the smiles on the bench. Time now to get a look at the Bulls on offense. Very high kick. It's a spinner taken at the 13. Bogan. And Bogan is going to be stopped just as he crosses the 30-yard line. Good for 19 on the return. Matt Grothe from Lakeland, Florida. And he has had an ankle problem. And he tried to cover it up a little bit on the phone conversation the other day, and then he actually said they had to do some work on it last week at halftime.
Yeah, last week against Connecticut, a game that they had lost 3 in a row. They really needed put a little medicine in there to numb it up, and he took over a little bit more. He's so much better when he can run, if they can get some running in. So let's see how mobile he is on that bad ankle.
Straight ahead with Mike Ford, and not much doing as that entire defensive front. Chris Neald, a redshirt sophomore, is the man who leads the way, number 90, and it's good for about 3. You can see the snow continues to fall, and that actually is the forecast for the rest of the evening. Now, we are fortunate in the fact they're not talking about heavy snow. If it just continues like this, probably won't be overly bad. The footing so far has been tremendous.
You got to wonder if South Florida comes out after sitting on the bench because of that long drive. They might be a little stiff right now.
Yep. Williams, right side, 2 yards. It's going to be 3rd down, and they need to take it down to the 39. Well, the starters on defense for West Virginia, you'll see the scroll, and there's Chris Neald, the redshirt sophomore.
They align in a 3-3-5, so 3 down linemen typically, 3 linebackers, and then 5 defensive backs. Of course, one of those safeties, the boundary safety, will come down around the line of scrimmage. So it'll become more of a 3-4, but now you see the 4 down in a 3rd down situation to get the 4th pass rush.
Grothy, good protection, has a one-handed catch. A.J. Love, and I promise you the quarterback is in love with Mr. Love after a catch like that.
And Love, a young man, just a sophomore, that the coaches were talking about just running a crossing route, wait for it to clear. What a nice grab. Wow. Well, you know, Jag was talking about those gloves and that Pat White is wearing. You know, they outlawed Stickum many years ago, but I'm here to tell you that those new gloves that the guys wear, you go to shake their hand and you're not going to be able to get your hand away from theirs. It's just like when Lester Hayes used to be dripping with Stickum.
You could swat a fly and take it out of the air and it'd still be alive.
They are. I'm telling you that the consistency on that glove is exactly like fly paper. It's exactly what it feels like.
That was Mike Ford on the carry, and he's going to wind up with a gain of 4.
And Ford, a young man who came into camp a little bit out of shape. He's a bigger guy, almost 230 pounds. And then he battled an ankle injury, so
he was out all of last year, which set him back and also set his team back because he's a big, strong runner and he runs very hard. Gets the handoff, bounces it outside, has the first down, and an ankle-high tackle is going to stop him right there. It'll be a gain of 5, and Brandon Hogan was the man who rolled underneath him to stop the run.
Well, you don't often see a 5'7", 200-pound fullback, but for South Florida, watch right there. That's Benjamin Williams. Now, it's not much of a block, but he is the toughest guy on the team. Every coach, when you talk to the South Florida folks, talk about Benjamin Williams and the job he does.
Bench presses, 430 at 5'7".
Yeah.
5'7", 200 pounds.
Squats 660 pounds, over 3 times his body weight. He's a powerful man.
Well, it's a first down. Jamar Taylor in the ball game, and he gets the carry. He'll have it for a gain of about 7 yards. Jack Arute, what do you have for us?
Well, you're talking about Ben Williams and his prolificness in the weight room. You know, this all started when he was cut from the baseball team in high school, and he was looking for a spring sport. At his high school, they had competitive weightlifting, and he became, and I quote, a freak. You quoted it, and he says he's used it now in strength and conditioning, and he's still a freak in the weight room.
Grothy with the play action, rolling the pocket, throws it complete, and that's a nice job by Ben Williams, the young man we're just talking about, to hold on to the football. The pass was a little bit high, but it's enough for the first.
And a nice job by Williams. He's blocking on the edge. This is kind of a sprint out for Grothy. And as Grothy gets over to that side, watch Williams as he works on the outside linebacker, and then he goes to get into his route. And that was a little bit of a blown coverage there by Sidney Glover. Glover decided to go up to try to hit Grothy and instead stayed with Williams, but a nice job.
Williams again, and much akin to what we saw from West Virginia. And it may be that kind of night where, again, they're not looking for style points or for anything aesthetically beautiful. They just want to get it into the end zone.
3 yards in a cloud of snow.
That's right.
Well, that's the exact kind of game that Jim Leavitt would like to play, even though his defense has played very well in the last couple of ball games against West Virginia. Remember, they lost 2 cornerbacks to the NFL, 1 in the first round. So the more he has White on the sideline, the happier Jim Leavitt is.
Grothy will keep it. Will have the first down as he goes down hard. Let's give him a gain of 7. And again, Brandon Hogan comes from that quarterback spot to make the hit.
And good news for South Florida. Grothy looks healthy. That looked to me like a guy who's not worried about his ankle. Watch him as he goes to cut and move. Yeah, that doesn't look like a guy whose ankle's really bothering him. So the coaches had said he was 100%, but of course you always wonder, are they being honest with us? Because they're not going to really tell you if a guy's not 100%, but he looked okay there.
10th play of the drive coming up here. And they give it to Ford, and Ford, he's going to have about a half yard or no gain, I guess we're going to call it. It'll be 2nd down and 10. J.T. Thomas, linebacker out of Fort Lauderdale. Redshirt sophomore. In fact, his dad played here.
And there are more players on West Virginia from the state of Florida than any other state on this team, including West Virginia. And a lot of these guys are pretty upset that the last couple of years they've lost to South Florida because a lot of these guys know each other.
Kelly and Ford in the backfield along with Matt Grothe. And it's Ford still fighting, and I told you he's a tough runner, and he on a second effort picks up about 3 more. It's a gain of 9. It'll be 3rd down and 1. Ian Smith stopped him.
And this is the type of run that they know they can get out of Ford. You mentioned he was hurt last year. He battled an ankle this year. Big, powerful guy. They've had high hopes for him. They've got a lot of running backs that they said they were going to get in and out, but if Ford keeps running like this, I would suspect that 26 will get the bulk of the work tonight.
So they go to 3 running backs. Actually a wishbone set rather than a power eye set. And they go for the first down. They get it with Ben Williams, and Williams will be inside the 10. It's a gain of 8. It'll be 1st and goal for the Bulls of South Florida. Quentin Andrews makes the stop.
Watch the push at the point of attack, and you've got everybody going in the same direction. And the last guy to get it is Williams. This is really good push. A bunch of guys from West Virginia falling down, and that's nice patience by Williams. He waited and waited and waited for that last little bit, cut back and picked up an extra 3.
See the line of scrimmage just inside the 10, and this time they knife it to the right side with Mike Ford. Good blocking, as West Virginia saying that the ball came loose. The official does not agree.
And they're talking it over. The officials are talking it over, and remember the rule change this year. You can review it even if the play is signaled dead.
They're going to give the ball to West Virginia. Let us look at a replay and see exactly what happened. We'll go to break looking at the play as Ford is saying he was down. That's what he's saying to his head coach. 7-0 West Virginia. This would be a huge thing if this play stands as the ball was wrestled out.
Fans.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And in part by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Yes. So welcome back, and the ruling on the field was confirmed, and it was Glover who caused the fumble. He made the tackle, caused the fumble, and made the recovery. That's 3 pretty big stats right there, and all in one fell swoop.
A tough break for South Florida. Had a wonderful drive to answer West Virginia's first and then turn it over.
Jock Sanders comes off right tackle for about 3. By the way, that is South Florida's 9th lost fumble of the season.
Glover, excellent job. Never gave up on it. He had it right from the start. Sometimes you just find that ball right in your hands when you're going to make the tackle, and Glover just continued to work it until it came out. Nice job.
You know, interesting, the last 2 years that West Virginia has played South Florida, they have been scoreless. The Mountaineers have in the first quarter. This run right here is not going to go very far, and it's McKenzie who is there to mess up the works, and it's going to be 3rd down and long. Pat White.
35. Ball to 10.
Exactly 100 career total yards and 100 total touchdowns responsible for.
That's going to change probably on this play, but that's a pretty neat stat line to have.
Yeah, it is. Now they got to take it out to the 15-yard line to hold on to the football. Here comes pressure, and he's going to go down with a sack. And there's George Selby, one of those 2 tight or the defensive ends that I talked about. He was an All-American last year, and he gets doubled so much, but he is a load. Sometimes even double teaming him can't get the job done.
And here's, what a great get off. Wow. Wow, did he get off that ball. I'm not so sure he didn't know the snap count. Selby, he's a crafty guy. He may have listened in because it looked to me like he knew that snap count.
Pat McAfee standing with his heel almost at the base of that end zone. Edwards the deep man, and the ball is gotten away. I thought it was blocked. In fact, the defender must have run past it as Edwards loses the ball, and now is going to be tackled at the 32-yard line. How in the world did he miss the football?
Well, they said that the referee signaled that it was tipped, because if anything, it would have been a running into the kicker, a roughing the kicker, so first down. But they say the ball was tipped. What a great punt, though, even though it was tipped.
57. He did. He overran it. 57 yards on the boot. So we are back, and in the split screen, you see the punter for West Virginia. And Jamar Taylor on the right, and he's the man that overran. Watch how far up the leg he hit. I mean, he's past the football.
Yeah, he didn't go to the point where they kick it, and I don't see where that ball's tipped. So this should have been a roughing. Unbelievable kick by McAfee. He's a
69 yards is what they're giving him credit for now because of where the ball was fumbled until possession was maintained.
I didn't see the ball move. It came out as a spiral. I don't think it was touched. So this should have been a roughing. And that's exactly what McAfee's asking for. The ball's not touched. And Bill Stewart, he should be upset. This should be a first down for West Virginia out around the 20-yard line and continuing.
The defender did not touch the ball. Therefore, we have roughing the kick, personal foul, roughing the kicker, number 33 on the defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
That is the absolute right call, and that is why you have touching of a kick is a reviewable play, and I think they got that call absolutely right. I applaud them for getting it right. I know that Jim Leavitt's losing his mind right now, but to me this is the absolute right call.
Jim better be careful there. He's
you don't want to be
a little too demonstrative. And of course, with the personal foul goes the automatic first down.
I don't understand that at all. Coach, by rule.
Oh boy, good. Turn that microphone off. Let's don't get anybody in hotter water than maybe they might be in right now.
But that is the right call. That's the referee, Dennis Hennigan, who's explained to him, Coach, the rule says we can review whether the kick was touched or not. If it's not, we have to call it. And he's absolutely right. I think this is the right decision. And you're right, too. Coach Leavitt's got to watch it. They've already got 15.
Yeah.
They just had the fumble where they were going in to score. West Virginia now gets the ball back. He doesn't want to give them another 15.
Again, it's Jock Sanders lining up in the backfield along with Pat White. West Virginia leads at 7-0. You can see we have 80 seconds left to play in the opening quarter. And White, they were well schooled on this one. The ball is thrown complete. Jala. And Jala will take it for a first down all the way to the 38. And now, well, that's a snowball. Never mind. I thought it was a flag coming out. Nate Allen is there defensively. 18 yards.
And this is something that you just haven't seen really in the long career of Pat White. The ability to throw that ball, somebody in his face, back across his body. And it's been a lot of hard work. Give a lot of credit to Jeff Mullen, the new offensive coordinator, for developing this part of Pat White's game.
From the 37-yard line, and they set up the middle screen, and a nice job defensively by South Florida. And let's check in back in the studio. Wendy Nix. Wendy?
Thank you very much. It's time now for SportsCenter right now. If you're looking for a shootout in this Big 12 championship game, not so far, though it is early. Jimmy Stevens with the burner there from 20 yards out. The only score so far, Oklahoma on top by 3. Florida, though, has defeated Alabama 31-20. They are SEC champions and likely to play for a national title.
Okay, Wendy, we're just checking on the field. All of a sudden, we had a first quarter that was just flying by, and now we've had several stoppages in play. And the trainers now are looking at Jock Sanders, the sophomore out of St. Petersburg. And very explosive runner with great speed. And obviously he has been shaken. And so we can go back and look at the replay and see what we can find out.
He's been in there the entire first quarter. Goes to block and then catches the screen. Hard to tell. There was a lot of guys, a lot of bodies being twisted, and big bodies as well. Oh yeah, that right ankle. Right underneath the body of Terrell McClain.
Sanders 6 carries for 24 yards so far in our ball game, and Mark Rogers will check into the lineup. So it'll be a 2nd down and 8 as we have now only 32 seconds left in the opening quarter. See blitz coming off the corner, and White gets it out in the flat, and I mean the pass is just dropped by Kovacs. The joint host Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, Lou Holtz, Lee Corso, and Mark May as they review all 34 bowl games, the matchups, the winners, and the losers. The Bowl Selection Special on ESPN tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
I'm really surprised we have not seen Noel Devine in the game. He's rushed for over 1,000 yards this year. Unless there's some kind of suspension we didn't know about. We had lunch with him yesterday. No mention of any injury whatsoever. So not quite sure why he's not playing.
Pat White over the middle, and he threw that one just a little too hot and a little high. Jala was the intended receiver, and that'll stop the clock with 9 ticks showing until the beginning of the second quarter.
And Jim Leavitt has to be very happy with what his defense has done. They had a turnover. They got what was supposed to be a 3-and-out, but of course then they got the roughing the kicker, and now they get their second 3-and-out in a row. Effective.
Marcus Edwards is the deep man, number 11. And remember, on the last one, he had a little bit of a problem fielding the punt. And in this kind of weather, understandably so. Here's the boot. This is a line drive. Edwards makes it on the run, gets by 1, gets by 2, and now he is not going to get outside on the right as he really got smothered. It's going to be 41 on the punt and 4 on the return. So let's take a timeout. That is the end of the first quarter with our score: West Virginia 7 and South Florida nothing. And we are back. Greetings from Morgantown, West Virginia. Little Christmas parade going on. And I wasn't joking off top of the telecast. It really does get you in the Christmas spirit. We came to the stadium, and it was snowing pretty heavy, actually, at the time. It's just about stopped right now. Don't know if that will be for the remainder of the evening or not. But that also means, of course, that the temperature is dropping. But the footing has been good, and we have not seen a bunch of slips. Grothy throws the ball, and it is incomplete. And let's check in again with Jack Arute. Jack?
Ron, you're right about the footing so far, but for guys like Jock Sanders, it was the cold turf that created this potential ankle sprain. They have taped it, added some support. He is trying to run through it right now. When they went through all the precautionary, pulling and tugging, he didn't show much pain, so he should be out. Let me give you the update on Noel Devine as well. Nothing wrong with him as far as we can tell. He's just been huddled over here by a heater, waiting.
Okay, well, he is a big producer for them, but tonight in the ball game has not played a down. Nice job by Grothy getting the pass away to Busby. And Ben Busby, a junior out of Mobile, number 82, a tight end at 6'3", 242, did ad-libs galore and came up with a big one.
Well, that's exactly what Matt Grothy does, very much like Pat White in his ability to get away from people and make plays. Nice job of squaring his shoulders.
Oh, that is a nice play by the tight end Busby. A lot of athleticism right there.
Still sliding.
Yeah. Safe. Well, little mix-up in the backfield. You can see Grothy spin around, and either the quarterback, and I doubt it's the quarterback, I have a feeling the running back ran the wrong direction, and we did not have a play action on the play. It's a loss of 1.
Well, Grothy comes out and goes to his right and just never got to the running back. The play is obviously going to the left, and Grothy just has to finish and turn all the way around. And sometimes, because South Florida plays so many different running backs, sometimes it's hard on your quarterback because guys run plays a little bit differently.
You're right. Also different, you talk about different sizes. Ben Williams only 5'7". Handoff's got to be a lot lower to him, obviously. Grothy, play action, under heavy pressure, and throws it complete at the 40-yard line to Bogan. That'll be a gain of 4. That helped him out considerably because it's now 3rd down, and heavy pressure by Sidney Glover.
And a great job by Grothy. of buying some extra time because his receiver, Bogan, hadn't quite cleared yet. So that was a nice job by Grothy to buy that time and make this a manageable third down.
I'll tell you, Glover's the one who forced it. And now they got a situation, third down. They need to take it to the 49-yard line. That's the line to make for the first down. Grothy, great protection this time. Over the middle, has a man and hits him at the 39. Good for 20 yards, and it's Jesse Hester, one of the two guys that they talked about at receiver that they have to get the football to because big results happen when they get it to Hester.
And Hester's been a young man that's really burst onto the scene this year. He was very steady last year, but they didn't expect him to have the type of year that he's having.
I'll tell you, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's his 21st consecutive game that he has had a catch. It's a new school record, by the way.
Very consistent. Had a good teacher in his dad, Jesse Hester Sr., played 11 years in the NFL.
This one will keep on the ground, maybe good for a half yard, is Jamar Taylor, tackled by Chris Neild.
And Neild is the guy who has really come on in this 3-3 defense. He plays the all-important. If you're going to play what's called an odd front, that's when you put a nose guard right over the center. Even is when you have two tackles over the guards. Odd is when you put a guy right over the center. If that guy over the center, a three-man front, cannot control the center and the backside guard, your linebackers are done because they can get through and block, and this guy does a nice job.
Neild had a really solid ball game against Oklahoma in the bowl game last year out in Tempe. Grothy all the time in the world and throws to a wide open Bogan, and Bogan will set it up first and goal inside the 10-yard line. It's a gain of 30.
And this route takes a long time to develop. Bogan lined up, and it's just a chase route. He's chasing behind Carlton Mitchell, and then just as soon as Mitchell clears off, Bogan does a good job of slowing down, and it pushed the zone so that he had a place to settle down. A good protection allowed that to happen.
Now they go to the running play to Williams, and Ben Williams gets hit and spun around. He'll gain about 1.5 yards. It is goal to go. It'll be second down. LeJour, Pat LeJour, sophomore out of Bethesda, Maryland, making the tackle, number 31.
And LeJour in there because it looked like Anthony Leonard, the usual starter middle linebacker, was not going to be able to go. They already lost Reed Williams to 2 shoulder injuries earlier in the season, so they're moving through some guys at linebacker right now.
Williams and Ford this time are the setbacks. Fakes it to Ford, throws for the end zone, and a little too far. Marcus Edwards, the intended receiver.
And that was one of those deals where the defender and the receiver's feet got caught up, and that's what stopped Edwards from being able to run. It was a pretty good throw by Grothy. He kept the ball in bounds, but Hogan, a young man who was playing wide receiver at the beginning of camps, turned around. Nice job.
You see Edwards with those short sleeves on? Now I'll tell you, many of the West Virginia kids have got long sleeve shirts underneath their jerseys. A whole bunch of the South Florida kids are going macho, man.
It's their first time below freezing. We'll try it out.
May change at halftime. Keeper Grothy, touchdown South Florida.
Well, and you can see the West Virginia players talking to each other. The right side of the defense just completely collapsed. It's the zone read that just about every team in the country, all the way up to the NFL level, is now running, and the backside defensive end just got washed all the way down inside, and Grothy walked in.
Well, the drive, 10 plays, 75 yards, 3:55 off the clock. Bonatti knocks home the extra point, and we are tied at 7 as you take one more look at the touchdown run by Grothy. Tied at 7. South Florida 7 and West Virginia 7, and let's take a look at tonight's AutoZone playbook.
All right, the guy you want to look for on this play is the defensive end, Scooter Barry. Here he is lined up right here. Now watch, as the running back goes this way, he's going to chase, but watch Grothy go right by him. Now the interesting thing is, Barry chases what he thinks is the ball, but watch, right when he realizes that the ball is not in the running back's hands, That's the old dag nabbit, you know. He slaps his hands together and thought, man, I just absolutely blew it. He just knew it right away when he got to the ball carrier and said, wait a minute, that was a zone read. I should have stayed right where I was at defensive end.
I was chasing the wrong guy. And he ran right by me.
Yep. We had a chance to visit with Scooter yesterday, very bright young man. He saw a ghost, as they say in coaching parlance.
This kick's going to be returned from the 27. This is Langston. And cuts it back inside, picks up another 6 or 7 yards. Wendy Nix, let's check back with you in the studio.
Ron, thank you very much. And we will check in on the Big 12 championship game in a Taco Bell studio update. Oklahoma already up 3 courtesy of field goal. Chris Brown punches it in from 4 yards out. And the Sooners lead Mizzou by a score of 10-0. Florida already defeating Alabama 31-20 for their first SEC title since 2006.
Okay, Wendy. Well, for the first time tonight, Noel Devine has checked into the lineup, the sophomore out of Fort Myers. And it'll be a keeper by White as he faked it to Noel. By the numbers on White tonight, 6 of 9 throwing, 47 yards, and he has scored a touchdown. And his completions are to 4 different wide receivers.
Yep, this is obviously a totally different offense than what was run by Rich Rodriguez and his staff before they took off from Maryland. Bill Stewart went and got Jeff Mullen out of Michigan. Wake Forest. Excuse me, Michigan. Yeah. Took off for Jeff Mullen from Wake Forest. He was a quarterback's coach there for 7 years.
White pressure from behind, didn't feel it, going to be sacked. And that is number 90, Jarrett Bowie. Now, a point on Bowie. He is very, very good by his own rights. But because Selvey gets so much attention, a lot of times he winds up getting single attention and maybe a little bit easier time. It helps it.
And the key is when you have a guy like George Selvey who's going to draw some help, then the other guy has to step up, because if he can't do it, now you're dead. Now you're just not going to get any pressure whatsoever unless you blitz. So give Bowie credit for at least stepping up and doing it when he can.
Well, middle screen. This is Noel Devine. Puts the head down. You could hear the crowd coming to light, because when he gets the football at his size with that speed at 5'8", 170, he can really do wonders in space.
Great job last week by Pitt. 1.4 yards per carry they held him to. And Pittsburgh and South Florida for the last 2 years have absolutely had West Virginia's number, offensively at least, and shut them down.
Now there's Devine gone to the sideline now with a 4th down situation, and they punt it away with McAfee. Now a little bit of that rugby punt, and he gets the forward roll, and picked up by Edwards at the 12. Gets one paving block, and then it'll be the end of the way at around the 23-yard line. 43 yards on a kick and 13 on the return. We'll take a timeout. West Virginia 7 and South Florida 7.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Black & Decker, powerful solutions in and around the home.
Well, as they continue to slide outside of Mountaineer Stadium, guys, I want to let you know they're going to slide a little thing in terms of snap count and cadence and color call. Matt Grothe met with his linemen. They practiced it. I can't tell you the color change, but obviously they've tend to think that maybe there's a little trickeration or spying going on the defensive side of things.
Yeah, you have an active color that alerts your offensive mates that you may be changing the play. They must have changed that color because I think West Virginia may know it.
Boy, I'll tell you, Jamar Taylor hit in the backfield just as he got the handoff, and it's a loss of 6. Hello, J.T. Thomas, the redshirt sophomore out of Fort Lauderdale.
Whew. Well, this was just an absolute run-through. That's a heck of a job by Thomas. Didn't get to finish it, but there's Scooter Berry.
Yeah, making up.
Learned from his mistake.
Yeah, he was home this time.
Yes, he was.
Way to go, Scooter. 2nd down and about 16. Tied at 7. About to hit the midway mark of the 2nd quarter. Snow has stopped here at Morgantown, at least for the moment. Grothe throws it in the flat, but the receiver, Cedric Hill, had to turn and come back a step to make the catch, and with that he lost his footing. And actually the first time we've seen tonight somebody lose their footing.
Yeah, and I want to go back a second, though, about Jack talking about the color. What happens is cadence usually has a color in it. So you'll hear like green 57, green 57, and then you go into the cadence. Well, there is a color that's a hot color, so that you know if it's red and I give you a number, that's what changes the play. Well, you don't want the defense to know when you're going to change it. So obviously Matt Grothe was concerned West Virginia knew their hot color, so they changed it.
Quarterback draw, has 5, has 10, and he's off. Finally hit with an ankle-high tackle, and that will be enough for the first down. So Grothe set sail, and it's a gain of 19 yards. Brandon Hogan finally put a stopper on it.
Well, Matt Grothe is just playing lights out right now. This is a design run, and this is something that the coaches from South Florida said. Greg Gregory, the offensive coordinator, and Jim Leavitt said he is a better player when not just scrambles. He's very good at scrambling, but when we call run plays for our quarterback, he plays better, and Grothe is really locked in right now.
Ben Williams, the man in the backfield with him, still looking good with great protection. Throws it over to the left, and I mean almost a KO hit on Langster. It's going to be a gain of 12, though. Bogan is the man who made the catch, and Langster came over and really put the wood to it.
Well, Grothe can be very accurate both in the pocket and on the run. That's the one thing the coaches talk about, his abilities with his feet set up so many things they do in the throwing game. But that is the word they use all the time. He's accurate on the run when he throws, and we've seen that so far this evening.
West Virginia coming with pressure up the middle. He has to just unload this one, and a very smart move. No sense in taking the hit, and he could see that there was way too much duress to mess around with that situation. Clock stop, 6:29.
And, you know, in that slide that South Florida went on, they started out 5-0, and then they went on a tough run there, lost 3 games in a row. For a while there, Grothe started forcing the ball, and the coaches felt like it was him trying to do a little too much because of the struggles of the team.
Well, you could see Matt Grothe says, we want a timeout, so we'll take it with him. Tied at 7, just under 6.5 minutes until halftime. We'll be right back. So we are back, tied at 7, 6:29 showing on the clock, and the temperature continues to drop. And for those of you who are Jackaroot fans, in the booth where Ed and I are standing, it's 76 degrees, and on the field it's 23. Now let's hear it for Jack.
Poor guy.
This is going to go for about a yard with Williams, and let's check in again with Jackaroo. Jack?
I know you guys are sweating, but what I want to do is update you on the condition of the field. This is that field turf, and this isn't chocolate chip ice cream. It's starting to harden up. What happens is the snow gets inside and replaces a lot of the black ground up rubber, and that's what starts to make it hard. The footing is starting to go away, guys.
Okay, good hustle there. Get your knees out of the snow there, Jack. Third down, line to make is the 43 of West Virginia. And Grothe wants another timeout.
That's the second one he's taken because he didn't like the formation they were in. And in a game that, with 5:52 left in the second quarter, a game that looks like it's going to be very tight. You don't want to be wasting timeouts. You may need them at the end to try a field goal at the end of the half.
Well, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday. First of all, at 11 a.m. Eastern, Chris Berman hosts Sunday NFL Countdown. Then at 7 Eastern, Chris Berman and John Saunders deliver the day's highlights and scores during SportsCenter. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM and SportsCenter presented by Bud Light on ESPN Sunday.
Well, they have one of those field turf fields here where there is those rubberized pellets. It's chewed up tires is what they use. And those pellets that you see that they got swept out of there are what give you some of your traction. Well, if that's being replaced with snow, you've got the longer blades of the synthetic grass. Well, now you basically have precipitation, water on those blades. So you're going to start to see some guys slip as they make cuts.
Well, third down. And still the line to make the 43. Grothe, far sideline. Got man coverage, and A.J. Love, the intended receiver, well overthrown. So South Florida will have to give it up. Lancaster was the man with the coverage.
And West Virginia's going to leave their safe defense in. All their defensive linemen and linebackers will stay in instead of their normal punt return, because this is the area on the road you have to consider South Florida would think about a fake here.
Alvarado was the man waiting for the snap back at the 38-yard line. Tied at 7, 5:47 left until halftime. Very, very high. Not real long, but it's a super coverage kick. And then it hits and takes a really good South Florida bounce and is going to go dead at the 10-yard line. On Monday night, the two teams perched at the top of the NFC South with identical 9-3 records. Tampa Bay and Carolina on Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from Morgantown, West Virginia. Pat White, the quarterback for this football team, playing his final game in a Mountaineer uniform here at home. They go with a running play straight ahead. And that is Noel Devine. And Noel, with a burst of speed, is going to have close to 11 yards on the carry. They're going to say officially it is 12.
You know, I wonder if Noel maybe, you know, they said it was not a suspension. Did not play at all in the first quarter. And, of course, Jock Sanders started at running back. It looks like they've now moved him almost permanently to the running back position. But this man's so explosive, you wonder if he wasn't maybe in the doghouse a little bit at the beginning of the game.
They've got him out at wide receiver right now, and Pat White is the only person in the backfield. And they're trying to run Pat White to the right side, and boy, South Florida was right there to sniff it out. Wendy Nix, let's check in with you again.
Well, thank you very much. As we continue to update the Big 12 championship out in Kansas City, Oklahoma was on top 10-0. Finally, Mizzou has an answer, courtesy of Chase Daniel to Jeremy Macklin. 27 yards later, the Tigers are on the board. As it stands right now in the second quarter, it is 10-7. And, of course, Florida already topping Alabama 31-20.
Okay, Wendy, our situation, we're tied at 7, and the running play will go for maybe a yard, and that's it. It's going to be third down and very long for West Virginia. Craig Marshall defensively.
And now this is where the development of Pat White as a quarterback that's gone on throughout the season has to show up, because this is a situation where you're not going to catch South Florida off guard. They're going to drop back into coverage. I would doubt they'll bring pressure here. So now White will most likely have to stand in the pocket, which is all new for him here his senior year.
4 wide receivers to his left. White sets up, throws, has it complete at the 30. And I don't know if the second effort, I think he got knocked out of bounds. I'm speaking about Arnett. It's a gain of 7. That's not going to be enough for the first down. If you're Bill Stewart, do you take a chance this deep in your own territory?
I don't think you should, because just the momentum of the game. And let's take a look. Arnett cut off his route a little too early. He's got to get that closer to the sticks. And he tried to stick it out late. The crowd booed because I thought it was a bad spot, but I think that was a good spot.
Jerome Murphy was not allowing him to take it any further, but your point that you made was right on the fact that he cut the route off just a little too soon.
And a good throw by White, though. That's exactly what you need, and that's something that Pat White has not been able to do up until this season, not really asked to do it.
Boy, McAfee booms this one all the way back to the 11-yard line as Edwards tries the far sideline, and he just runs out of bounds. 55 yards on the kick, 11 on the return, and there is a flag down.
I think they may be getting a late hit on Sammy Marone. There was a little bit of back and forth jawing over there, but I think it might have been on Marone.
There is no penalty for a hit.
Well, it happened right in front of the part of the South Florida bench.
And Jim Leavitt is not making friends with the officials tonight. I don't think that they're going to be going out for dinner later.
Well, he's trying to get his fair share, and I don't blame him. And that's part of his task as a head coach. New line of scrimmage. They will take it over at their own 24-yard line. 3:15 left until halftime. Ford and Kelly in the backfield, and they keep it on the ground, and just not much doing with Mike Ford, tackled after a gain of 2.
And here's where those timeouts that
Scooter Barrett.
Yep, Scooter's having a nice game after he had a little mental error.
Well, I mean, he's a good and consistent football player. He knew that he messed up on the play,
instantly,
but he may have gotten a little chewing on the sideline as well to give him even more incentive.
Yeah, just a sophomore. He's got a long, nice career ahead of him.
Yeah, he does. He started last year as a freshman. Gets this one off, and look at the white jerseys surrounding the receiver Mitchell. He'll pick up 5 yards, but it's 3rd down, and they have to take it to the 34-yard line or give it back to the Mountaineers with 2:28 showing on the clock.
And this is where West Virginia, the clock is going to start here as soon as they set the ball ready for play. And I don't think they should do it here. But if they can get a stop here and it's 4th down, I think they should use one of their 3 timeouts before the punt. And for South Florida, remember, they wasted those 2 timeouts. So if they get the 1st down, they're going to have to get into a nice hurry up here for the rest of this drive.
South Florida 5 of 6 on 3rd down conversions tonight. Grothy throws it complete, and that is just enough for the 1st down. Gain of 6 by Edwards, and they'll move the sticks. That's an example of not cutting the route off too short. He ran it perfectly.
No, but Jack gave the report about Matt Grothy and how excited he was to play in cold and snow. Well, that's showing up because this ball is a bullet. He throws it down and away so that he knows the defender cannot get there. And that was an excellent job of cradling the ball by Edwards.
Ooh, what a hit. Jamar Taylor ran through an opening on the left side, and then all of a sudden it closed up immediately. And that was Allen. Francho Allen making the tackle.
Kind of surprised that South Florida, they're not in a hurry up with 1 timeout. I don't see why they would be taking this much time and calling running plays. This seems to be very counterproductive.
Ben Williams, the lone setback this time. Grothy throws the ball. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're going to say he caught it. They're going to say he had possession at the 45-yard line. That's a gain of 15 by Marcus Edwards. And they better hurry and get this play off because I think this one might be reviewed. This was very close.
Well, Marcus Edwards, 2 plays in a row. He's the inside receiver running the out cut. Let's take a nice close look.
No, he did get a foot down.
Boy, he did, and had control of it.
Yeah.
2 nice catches in a row by Edwards. He had control of it. Well, that's fine to review it because it was that close. But
yeah.
But even the play before on the low throw by Grothy, the ball looked like it was about to hit the ground, and Edwards did a good job of pulling it back in, and that time showing strong hands of right when he caught it, not allowing it to move around. He had total control.
Well, as they review it, the ball, if it stands as the call went, it will be 1st down at the 44-yard line. We have 69 seconds left on the clock, and we might need to start looking at the distances that the field goal kicker.
A foot down, inbounds, 1st down.
So it's going to stand.
Yeah, and Maikon Benani, his career-long 49
yards.
Yeah.
Yep. So 13 of 19 this year.
And there's the foot. And the part that is great is that Edwards that ball does not move despite the best efforts of Allen to try to knock that out. But that's 2 good catches in a row. Edwards, now you've got to figure South Florida with basically a timeout with the review. I would suspect now they will get into that hurry up, wanting to save that 1 timeout in case they have to bring Benani out.
Benani is not good beyond 40. I shouldn't say not good, but he's only 3 of 8 in his career. Look to his left, pumped it once, now going to run. Grothy at the 40 will get out of bounds and stop the clock with 1:02. Hogan was there.
Grothy is just, he's in the zone. They had a wide receiver screen set up to the left. He also had a throw that he was looking for deep to the left. All of them were covered. He brought it down and instantly found the sidelines, knowing he only has one timeout. Grothy's playing at a very high level right now.
So the ball is just inside the 40-yard line. Straight ahead with the running play. That's a gain of about 10 yards on the play by Ben Williams, tackled by Slavatic. Now they're getting very close to the really good field goal range of Bonani.
Yeah, I would think you'd want to get something down inside the 20 and then see if you can't take a couple throws into the end zone and then bring out Bonani.
45 seconds left until halftime. Grothy steps up and throws it complete at the 17-yard line. Mitchell then forced out of bounds at the 15. So it's a gain of 16 on the play. They've got exactly the setup you were talking about, Ed. Clock will stop because of where we are in the ball game. We're tied at 7 as South Florida trying to go in with a lead at halftime.
Now, with that timeout, you can still try stuff. You can still try a draw. You can still throw something short of the sticks, short of the end zone. But you just have to be aware of that if you're going to hurry up. You don't want to eat too much more of this clock because I think you can get 4, maybe 5 more shots before you have to try it.
Well, Grothy just called a timeout. And we'll take it with him. That's got to be the final timeout for South Florida. Tied at 7. We'll be right back. So welcome back to Morgantown. Here's the situation. 39 seconds showing on the clock. It is a first down for South Florida as they set up shop at the 15-yard line of the Mountaineers. Grothy at a shotgun formation, empty backfield. Over the middle, the ball is intercepted by West Virginia, and that's Glover.
Well, that's the first bad throw of the night, really, for Grothy. He threw it behind the receiver.
33 seconds on the clock, and obviously, if he wasn't sure, you know, he could just throw it away and still have plenty of time.
Yeah, this is just, he's got plenty of time. The offensive line's been playing great, and that ball's just thrown behind the receiver, and that is the second turnover for Glover.
Well, it's second turnover in the red zone also.
Oh, good point. Yeah, Glover forced the fumble down around the 6-yard line in the first quarter, and now Glover, because of the poor throw, he had to throw that over the linebackers, and the ball floated on him a little bit, and Glover having himself a very big night.
He really has. He has had a very big night. Pat White going to keep the football and is going to have 8 yards on the play. Keon Wilson defensively.
And now West Virginia, with their full complement, gets their timeout. I don't think they want to do anything risky here. It's a cold night. The ball could slip. Somebody, I think that's a good call to get White. You've got your timeouts. If you break one and you get out near midfield, then maybe you'd open it up a little bit. But I don't know that you want to be rearing back and throwing it too much right now.
I had a lot of concern. I looked at the field, and the linemen were trying to reset, and one of the linemen, Pat, was still on the ground, and Pat White almost got stepped on by one of his linemen who was stepping over his quarterback, and then they realized it was a timeout call. There's a comparison on the night between Grothy and White. 12 of 17, 132 yards. 1 interception, and he's got 36 rushing yards, does Grothy. And for White, 8 of 11, 61 yards, 1 touchdown, and 7 rushing yards.
It's a cliche, but what do coaches always talk about? Turnovers.
Yep.
I mean, that's the first thing out of their mouth anytime, and South Florida in their red zone with 2 of them so far.
Well, Devine is in the ball game, and the ball is overthrown, intended for Jala.
White's pass intended for Jala. Ball's incomplete.
And now I think in 3rd and short for West Virginia, maybe some type of draw or screen to Noel Devine. Get the first and then see if you can't get into a hurry.
And look at this secondary of South Florida. They're moving it up a little bit, but they were in playing center field there just a moment ago. 2 of 6 on 3rd down conversions tonight. And here's Devine, and Noel tries to turn the corner, and he does. And you got to be careful because he can score in a heartbeat now. 15 ticks left on the clock. That's good for 15 yards.
Excellent job by Devine. He goes to bounce this outside, and this is just sheer speed because this is defended. The defensive end is right there. The outside linebacker, Tyrone McKenzie, is there to make the play, but he just flat out runs him and then does a good job to get out of bounds and stop the clock.
So from the 42, White looking, goes on top, and a big collision at the 35-yard line, and a flag comes down. It's going to be pass interference called against South Florida. Gachette is the man who was part of the collision.
And even if South Florida, Jim Leavitt's trying to claim that this ball is uncatchable, but I think what the call should be is a personal foul because Starks was a defenseless player. And I think that Leavitt is trying to claim that the ball was uncatchable, but to me, this is more a personal foul type call than a pass interference.
Pass interference, number 7 on the defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, if you're going to call that, the ball does have to be catchable. So Jim Leavitt, I think, maybe has a little bit of an argument here. Oh, no.
No, that's...
Yeah. Well,
the first thing that you mentioned is, again, we talk about it, defenseless player. This year, supposedly, they're going to do a better job of taking care of. That's a defenseless player when the second man comes in and hits him in the head.
But also Nate Allen put his hands on Starks when that ball was in the air as well. So that's a good call.
Pass thrown complete at the 28-yard line to Arnett. That's good for 15. And still 5 seconds left on the clock. Now, decision time for West Virginia.
I think you got to kick it because if a play can take between 4 and 8 seconds. So why risk it? I think you put out your senior kicker. West Virginia takes their time out to talk about it, but I don't think you risk another play from scrimmage. I think you kick this field goal.
Well, when we talked to the head coach yesterday, we asked him about Pat McAfee, and by the way, he said he'd had more fights with Pat since he's been here than his wife.
Pat is an opinionated young man. There is no two ways about that.
He didn't mean fights, but disagreements.
Yes.
But we asked him, how much confidence do you have in him? And he said, I've got confidence in Pat McAfee from anywhere between, even 55 to 57 yards.
Yeah. McAfee is out there working this turf. Remember the report that Jack gave us that a lot of the snow has worked its way down to the turf. McAfee ran out there right away to clear off a spot.
45 yards is what this is going to be, Ed. A 45-yard attempt from the far hash mark. High pass, good job by the holder. It's got a ton of distance, and it's got a ton of accuracy. McAfee, who, by the way, told us yesterday at lunch, he has never, as long as he's been a kicker, had the opportunity to kick a game winner as the clock is going out.
Yeah, and as a senior, he's West Virginia's all-time leading scorer, and that doesn't quite count as the end of a game, but pretty good end of a half.
Let's go down to the sideline, Jack Arute.
And you can see the smile on the coach's face. Your kicker did it, but I got to ask you, was there a reason why Noel Devine wasn't in the first quarter?
No, there was no reason. It's just we went with Jock Sanders in there. Noel's fine. He's going to have a big half. Well, he'll be fine. How about that Patrick McAfee, huh?
Yeah, but let me ask you, how about your offense? It was good. It was effective in the first quarter, and then it kind of stumbled a little bit.
We bogged down, Jack. They're giving us a certain coverage there. We just weren't ready for them. We're right on target. Just got to keep making plays, man.
And keep drives like that, right?
You betcha.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, Jack, thanks so much. Our score at halftime, West Virginia 10 and South Florida 7. Now let's send you to Wendy Nix in the studio. Welcome back to ESPN2 College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers. We're at halftime here in Morgantown, West Virginia, with our score, the Mountaineers on top by a count of 10-7. And what we talked about early on in the telecast actually came true, and that is semi-conservative because of the weather conditions, the field conditions, and everything. A lot of running, not a lot of scoring.
Yeah, it's been a back and forth game. We'll take a look at the Timberland game track of the first half, and it started out where it looked like they were going to go back and forth quite a bit. 10,000 yards career total offense for Pat White in his last game in Morgantown. But then there was 2 fumbles in the red zone, both of them caused by Sidney Glover of West Virginia, forced a fumble and recovered, then the interception, and then a wonderful drive at the end of the half so that McAfee can kick the long field goal, another senior in his last night. So a couple of turnovers for South Florida in the red zone, but it's been a big night so far for the seniors here in West Virginia.
And as you could see in the back of that blue jacket that Bill Stewart is wearing, the snow is beginning to come down again. You look at the total numbers. South Florida 228 to 135, but boy, the 2 turnovers just jump out at you there.
Yeah, and only 3 points off of those turnovers. It was after that Glover interception that Pat White did a nice job with the 3 timeouts, took them down for the McAfee field goal. But that first turnover, it looked like South Florida answering West Virginia's first drive was just going to walk right into the end zone. That fumble was on about the 6-yard line.
Well, here comes the kick, and it'll be South Florida getting the ball to start the second half since they won the toss and deferred. Jack Root, let's check with you on the sideline.
Well, those turnovers for South Florida, I asked Jim Leavitt, and he said, Jack, what I told the players is forget about the turnovers, forget about that last drive. He was very pleased with the performance of his team top to bottom, and he told them, look, all we've got to do is maintain our focus and maintain our attitude in this second half. I want to give you a little tidbit on Pat McAfee. Remember we had lunch with him, and I was telling him about Arden Krzyzewski, the great kicker for Florida, and how he rubbed his foot with a banana.
Yeah.
He had me bring a banana tonight. He rubbed it and said, I may need it. Guess it worked, huh?
Now you're taking credit for the kick. Is that right, Jack?
Of course it is.
Well, that's Jamar Taylor, and Jamar says, well, they didn't do their defense exactly this way in the first half. He's tackled for a loss. LeJour, the first man to get there, number 31.
Jamar Taylor, a young man that's finally healthy. He's been battling an ankle injury, and talking to Greg Gregory, the offensive coordinator, earlier in the week, they said, we're going to see what this young man's made of.
They could see the numbers there on how South Florida has been outscoring their opponent in the third quarter. And West Virginia, that's been their big quarter as well. So good adjustments on the part of the coaching staffs at halftime. Wilford. It is intercepted, and a flag comes down at the 40-yard line. Lancaster got the football.
Well, this is just another bad throw by Matt Grothe. So this is 2 bad throws in a row. You go back to the one. They may get West Virginia for pass interference on this. But that was just a bad throw.
Pass interference. Number 80 on the offense. Penalty is declined. First down.
Well, you can't blame Patrick Richardson for trying to knock the West Virginia defenders out of the way, because this ball not only double covered. Yeah, and Lancaster got a little push in there too, but he was playing the ball. So both the receiver and the defender getting a little bit of a push, but boy, I'm not sure why Grothe would let that thing fly with a safety and a cornerback in coverage. That's a big mistake.
Well, we'll find out here shortly just exactly how big the mistake, because the Mountaineers have the ball at their own 49-yard line, leading by 3 points. And let's see if they stay conservative or throw it a little bit. Nope, they're going to keep it on the ground, and this is Noel Devine. The last drive before the half.
And really nice job, Noel Devine, who didn't play in the first quarter. Good job keeping his balance, putting his hand down, then getting out of bounds. And this is a part of the game that Pat White in his senior year has really developed, is in the pocket passing. And then Pat McAfee, the senior, knocks it through. We saw him come out at halftime. McAfee, he was nailing him from 60.
He was. Here comes pressure. Backside now. White's going to run. 45-40, 35. At the 30, and then being taken out of bounds by Jerome Murphy. 19 yards. Bowie was the man applying the pressure, and he flushed him out of the pocket.
And it's plays like this that have put Patrick White into great company He's the all-time leading rusher in college football from the quarterback position. And when he takes off, he's just got that smooth gliding. He's not, I think you underestimate his speed because it looks so effortless.
Well, he took off last week against Pitt and did the same thing, scored from over 50, throws the ball, and now actually just threw that one and looked as though into the ground.
And I think you've got to start talking about Pat White and what's going to happen with him at the next level in the NFL. And the 4 guys that he is above, Brad Smith, Antoine Randall, and Josh Cribbs, are all playing wide receiver type positions in the NFL. And I think that Pat has developed into a good passer, but I feel like at the next level, it's kind of, he's going to be one of those utility guys, I believe.
Well, the running play will take it down inside the 25. Jackaroot.
You know, Ron, during our lunch yesterday, I actually started to talk to Pat a little bit about his aspirations in the NFL. And he said, even though I was born in Alabama, I've always been a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And I said, well, do you want to be a quarterback? And he said, no. He said, I just want to play on Sunday. So it's a little bit different than some of the other utility quarterbacks that have held out, like a Heisman Trophy winner from Nebraska a few years ago. He'll go and play wherever.
You know, Jack, you have to wonder, with his abilities, as he's under pressure and gets the ball off, almost intercepted. He was trying to get it off at the very last minute to Jock Sanders, and Keon Wilson was right there. To complete my thought, you have to think he's plenty good enough to be a backup quarterback. In other words, a number 3 in the National Football League. He still play wide receiver.
Absolutely, yeah. And that would be a great thing for Patrick White to be able to do, is be that 3rd guy and play another position as well, a few other positions.
Well, let's see if Pat McAfee can hit one from 42 yards, far hash mark. And he's got plenty of distance, and again got plenty of accuracy. That is right down the middle. So it's now made a 45 and a 42 in the new score. West Virginia 13-7. So welcome back to Morgantown, West Virginia. Right now it may be snowing as hard as it has snowed this entire evening. Earlier this evening we didn't have much wind. Now it's really swirling around. Some numbers on Grothe. Interesting. In interceptions, his first 7 games of the season, he threw 3 picks. In the last 5 games, he has thrown 11 interceptions. Returned by Bogan. And Bogan's going to take it out to the 31-yard line. That's good for 28 yards on that return.
And you've got to think that when Grothe got over the sideline, got on the phone to Greg Gregory upstairs, the offensive coordinator, just settle down. You know, this is a problem that Grothe has had. He's one of those guys. He's a highly competitive guy, but he'll take risks. And he just, the one down on the end zone was just a throw that he had to make. It was a tough throw, so it was just a bad throw. The last one was a poor decision. He just should not have thrown that ball. So, but very luckily, 3 turnovers for South Florida, and the defense has only allowed 6 points off of those turnovers, so keeping them in this game.
See that 3-3-5 of West Virginia. The ball, just as it's caught by Love, it was caught by the defender. Going to be a pickup of 4, but Quentin Andrews was right there on him as soon as he grabbed the football.
It's interesting, this 3-3-5 defense that West Virginia runs started the 2nd year that Rich Rodriguez was here, and Jeff Castile, the holdover defensive coordinator, went and studied this defense with Dean Hood, who was the defensive coordinator at the time at Wake Forest, who'd also studied it from Charlie Strong while he was at South Carolina. So that's where they built this defense from.
Well, that's Ford, and Ford is close to the first down, just across the 40-yard line. Robert Sands is there defensively. I guess the basic, as far as, you know, why you would do it, is you would take away one large lineman who does not run as fast, and you'd put another fast man on the field, so you get more speed on the field.
Yeah, and you look at your recruiting too. It's very difficult to find a bunch of 290-pounders who can really play. It's easier to find the 232, 40 guys.
Bounces it outside Ford, and Ford spins his way inside the 50, and Robert Sands has to make a stop after a gain of 13 yards. That is a really good second effort on the part of Ford. Watch him and how hard he runs.
Well, and total missed outside contained. Brandon Hogan, the cornerback, came inside, and so did Quentin Andrews. Both the safety and the corner gave up contained to that side, and that's why Ford was able to bounce it to the outside.
See the blitz coming up the middle, and this time they're going to stuff the run for virtually no gain as Chris Neald.
Well, we just showed that graphic a minute ago about West Virginia and South Florida, both very good second half teams. Well, this defense for West Virginia, they had to replace 8 starters off a very good group from last year. And they go in at halftime, they draw up, make the adjustments, and this defense has shut out their opponents in the second half in 6 ball games this year. So it's been very stout in the second half for West Virginia.
Ford, the lone setback, and Grothy will keep it, and Grothy fights his way down inside the 40-yard line. Join host Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, Lou Holtz, Lee Corso, and Mark May as they review all 34 bowl games, the matchups, the winners, the losers. The Bowl Selection Special on ESPN tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Ron Franklin at Cunningham and Jack Arute coming to you from Morgantown, West Virginia. Final game for, 18 seniors on this Mountaineer football team. And, of course, Pat White, probably the most popular Mountaineer to have ever played here, playing his final game tonight. And if you're wondering why they are wearing the white uniforms tonight and they are at home, they had to ask for permission at the very beginning of the season. They had to contact the conference to ask them. You can't do it after the season is underway. And they were given permission. South Florida said it was cool with them that they would wear the dark jerseys. And on 4th and 1, you're going to see South Florida kick it away.
A little surprised South Florida's not thinking about going for it here. If you kick this into the end zone, you only gain about 21 yards of field position. It's 4th and short.
Alvarado with the kick. Very high. And just like the last one, he gets it to roll dead inside the 10-yard line. That's good for 30 yards, but where it wound up is what counts. So let's take a timeout. 8:43 left, third quarter. West Virginia 13-7. Pat White in his final night.
ESPN's College Football, brought to you by Timberland Earthkeepers Collection.
You can see the snow falling a little bit harder here, and also the spike cleaner on the sideline. And I have to say this field has held up remarkably well, with the temperature in the low 20s and the snow continuing to fall and getting a new coating in certain parts of the field where they have not scrimmaged this half.
And don't eat speckled snow.
Noel Devine, and tackled by Selvey after a gain of 5. Well, the Big East, and let's take a look at the standings this year.
Well, Cincinnati, to me, one of the great stories of the year. We did that game against Oklahoma when Dustin Grutza broke his ankle, and Tony Pike then broke his arm. They used 4 different quarterbacks throughout the season, and I think that you have to put Brian Kelly not just coach of the year in the conference. I think he has to be up for possibly coach of the year.
I agree 100%. He really did a great job, and of course when he was in football other than Division I at Grand Valley State, won back-to-back national championships. At one period they were 41-2, and he's had success everywhere he has been virtually.
Yeah, and this because of what the preseason poll looked like. This game was set up this night thinking it would be for the Big East Championship, and of course Cincinnati put that to rest last week and will go play most likely Virginia Tech in the Orange Bowl.
That's a game that you, Mr. Arute, and myself will do for ESPN Radio on January the 1st. It's Bowie who comes in to make the tackle.
You know, and a man, it looked like maybe with the spot that they got this, but a man who is retiring after this year, Big East Commissioner Mike Tranghese, one of the best men in the business. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and got a chance to chat with him today on the phone. And what he had to go through, what this conference had to go through when Boston College and Miami and Virginia Tech left, and bringing in teams like Cincinnati and South Florida. And for a while there, a lot of people were saying, should the Big East keep their BCS as an automatic qualifier?
Stand check. You think he was happy?
Yeah. But, you know, it was interesting in talking to Mike this morning about some of the things he's done when he's here. He's talking about this conference and the win that West Virginia had in that Sugar Bowl in 2006 over Georgia. He said it was the biggest win in the history of this conference in any sport, because everybody was down on them and bad-mouthing this conference in football, and that legitimized this sport, this conference. And you see it; it's really gotten better over the last 3 or 4 years.
No, you're right. No, I echo your praise of Commissioner Tranghese. I've known him for a long time. Got to know him first through basketball, I guess. But he's a very, very honorable guy, high character fella, and has done a magnificent job as the commissioner of this conference.
Yeah, and it's been a very good year for the Big East. Cincinnati, of course, was the surprise out of that. But what Rutgers did, I mean, they just looked awful at the beginning of the season. They run off 6 in a row to get bowl eligible.
Throws it complete, trying to break the tackle at the 40, and it's a gain of 22 yards on the play. Boy, Tito Gonzalez, now he's a senior, and he's out of Tampa, Florida. So you think this game is not a little more special to him, man?
Yeah, and Tito's a young man who had that huge catch, that 79-yard touchdown last year in the 4th quarter of the Fiesta Bowl. But it's hard to put into words what a senior day is like. It's so emotional. You try to suck in all of the moments, but it's nice for a young man to get a nice catch, at least one, in his last game at home.
White looking long, deep over the middle, and incomplete. Now a flag comes in. Now this is interesting. The official closest to it did not throw a flag. The man away from it did. Murphy working against Arnett.
Yeah, and I think what Murphy came up saying was that this ball was uncatchable. But Murphy.
Pass interference. Number 3 on the defense. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Well, Murphy was beat on the play, and so what in college football, with it just being a yardage penalty, not a spot penalty, you might as well take the man down.
But when you stand up and say it's uncatchable, would you tackle the man? Well, we will never know.
We'd never know. No, I think that was the right call if it had been thrown a little farther. But yes, a tackle should go if the ball is close.
Well, White under heavy pressure, and he's just going to run out of bounds. Was there a flag? Because, boy, there was a tackle by one of the offensive linemen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they got the right guard. Figner. The blitzer came inside.
Holding. 73 on the offense. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Yeah, Keon Wilson came on the blitz, and Figner had no choice. Here's Figner right here. You're going to see the blitz come inside.
That's their first penalty of the night.
Yeah. And that's a mistake at offensive lineman. That's a technique mistake. Figner dropped his head. And as soon as you drop your head against a player who's quicker than you, if that guy gets an edge, the body will go where the head is. If you put your head down, you're going to start to fall, and that's why he had to hold.
Second down. A little bit of an opening right here, and Devine will be stopped as he takes it inside the 45. It's going to be a gain of 4. Nate Allen there defensively. We look over the clock now at 5:45 left in the 3rd quarter. West Virginia 13-7. They would love dearly to pick up a touchdown, but another field goal wouldn't hurt their feelings either to make it a 2-score game. Good protection this time. Flag is down. White maintains his footing enough Boy, I thought he picked up the first down, but I don't think the spot is going to give him that. McKenzie was the guy who was forcing.
66 on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
And, excuse me, Ron, but because you decline the penalty, it's 4th and 8. It's safe to say that West Virginia is going to punt this away, but I would be, excuse me, 4th and 11. Yeah, you're going to punt this. If it were about 4th and 7, yeah, I'd be concerned if I were South Florida. West Virginia may fake this, but I don't think they're going to fake it here.
Now let's keep an eye on this situation, because McAfee on the very first punt of the night, as Edwards is back deep, almost had it blocked. And the fact that the defensive player ran too far past the football. Going to get this one to stick? No, it's going to hit on the 2 and go into the end zone. So he'll get credit for a 43-yard boot. Timeout. 4:51 left. 3rd quarter. 13-7 Mountaineers. And to donate to the V Foundation for Cancer Research, 1-800-4-JIMMY-V, or log on to www.jimmyv.org. South Florida from their own 20-yard line. And the running play by the quarterback, and he is not only going to have the first down, he's going to have 4 more. Gain of 14 on the play. Jack Arute, let's check with you.
You know, guys, it was interesting to watch Matt Grothe while his defense was out on the field. He wasn't upset. In fact, he was joking around, had a big smile on his face. You really get the impression that this kid is very calm tonight, despite the fact that, as you alluded to, that maybe sometimes he starts to think about putting too much on his shoulders. Not this time. Didn't talk upstairs at all during that last series.
So Glover, Jack, thanks very much for the report. We were looking down trying to make sure we had the number correct, but this is Sidney Glover, who has had an outstanding ball game tonight for the Mountaineers, who is down on the field and being attended to by the medical staff. And Wendy Nix, let's check with you back at the studio.
Ron, thank you very much. We'll get you caught up today on this Big 12 championship game in which Oklahoma has pulled away. A couple of touchdowns here for the Sooners. First, Moses Madu, a 12-yard run. Chris Brown will punch one in from 6 yards out, and Oklahoma clearly in control, 38-7. The second half just barely underway. This game going on over on ABC. On ESPN, Arizona leading Arizona State 21-10, about 4.5 to go in the 3rd quarter.
Thanks, Wendy. Back here in Morgantown, 13-7 our score. And Glover took a helmet to the stomach or just below, and so he is down for the count. And it looks as though he's going to be okay, as they're going to help him off the field. I don't know how quickly he's going to be able to come back into action, though.
Well, and as we roll into tomorrow, when the BCS will announce its final, you've got to assume that with a convincing win, Oklahoma will go to at least number 2, if not number 1. Of course, Florida beat Alabama today, so both of those teams with 1 loss. There was a chance if Florida did not play well or won in a way that wasn't convincing or seemed like they got lucky, that Texas would have been able to sneak in, because Florida needed help in the human polls, because Texas's lead in the computer polls was so great coming into this week. But I think that win by Florida today in a very tightly contested good ball game is going to be enough to put them into the national championship game against Oklahoma.
Well, in case you missed it, Virginia Tech winning the ACC, defeating Boston College and doing it convincingly, 30-12. East Carolina, that was a thriller in the Conference USA. Defeats Tulsa 27-24. And the other one, the Big 12 title game, it's going on right now, and it's all Oklahoma and virtually nothing Missouri, 38-7.
And last night, what a great performance by Buffalo against Ball State. It's amazing what Turner Gill has been able to do with that Buffalo program in short order. think his name will start to come up for bigger and better jobs now.
Boy, I tell you what, I talked about echoing the praise a minute ago. I mean this now. Turner Gill last night, I've never been any happier for anybody in my life. And one of the things that Turner has done, you know, he has not been reluctant at all. He has come up. He went back to a lesser situation as far as coaching to pay his dues. And a lot of his fellow coaches need to look at what he's done and where it's going to get him. That pass thrown complete at the 40, and Hester is chilled the minute he catches the football. Gain of 6.
Well, you know, there's all that talk with Mike Leach, who was a candidate for the Washington job. His name's been brought up at Auburn. How perfect of a fit with Turner Gill, who obviously has the background at Nebraska, fit at a place like Texas Tech, perhaps.
Coming back into the Big 12, you suggest. Well, you know, stranger things have happened. I just know he got a lot of mileage last night, and for good reason. And this play is going to be snuffed. I don't think he gained anything, and LeJour is the man who led the way. So very big play here as we come down the home stretch in this third quarter for South Florida, as they have not been able to get anything going in the second half.
Well, and as tough a night as Grothe has had with a couple of throws, I would want to run him here. Maybe a quarterback draw, something like that. Let him try to make some people miss and pick up this first down.
Here comes pressure. Ball is delivered. Has it complete. Good for the first down at the 47 to Jesse Hester. And, you know, it's interesting. On that play right there, a couple of defensive players were screaming at teammates, hey, they're about to snap the ball. And they were still kind of walking around and looking in other directions, but even back toward the sideline.
Well, and it's a tough loss to lose Sidney Glover at that strong safety position. Starting to rotate some guys in there. But that's a guy who's not only having a monster game tonight, but he's been playing so well. And they said that light went on in that Auburn game. So there may be some confusion with Glover out of the lineup.
First down for their own 47. Grothe wants to throw and going to go on top. And has a man down there, just overthrew him by about 3 yards. Jack Arute, let's check with you.
Well, let's update you on Glover's condition. They checked his right knee. That seems to be the concern. They went through all of the exercises and they couldn't see anything. They've now put him on the bike to see if they can loosen it up just a little bit. That's one of the downside, guys, when you play in very cold weather. It sometimes will mask and disguise a minor that could be a major injury. So the athletic training staff paying a lot of attention, but wouldn't surprise me if he passes this bicycle test, if he might find his way back out there.
Okay, Jack. Grothe, by the way, 15 of 22, 149 yards, and the 2 interceptions. Grothe under pressure this time, and he's not going to be able to get away from harm's way this time.
And I think they're going to get a hold in the middle of this offensive line. Yeah. When Grothe went to take off, he hesitated for half a second.
Holding, 78 on the offense, 10-yard penalty, second down.
And it's Mark Dial, the left tackle, that they get for the hold. But as Grothe goes to take off, actually Dial's working on the right side. Yeah, that's a wraparound block on number 97, Julian Miller. I would say that was a hold for sure. As soon as those hands go outside the frame, you know, they'll let you get away with a lot when your hands are inside. But as soon as they get outside that frame, if you're holding on, they're going to call it.
Second down, they got to take it all the way down to the 43 of West Virginia. Grothe near sideline, and the ball incomplete, thrown too tall. Monday night, the two teams perched at the top of the NFC South with identical 9-3 records. Tampa Bay and Carolina on Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins 7 o'clock with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Well, so far, South Florida is 80% on third down conversions, 8 of 10. They got a long way to go on this one, though. All the way across midfield. Grothe gets it out of the backfield, and the ball is thrown incomplete as Ben Williams had turned backwards, was backing up trying to catch it, and he got whacked by Holmes.
You know, a lot has been talked about in these parts about West Virginia's offense, just not as explosive as it was last year. Of course, when you lose some of the people that they lost, including Steve Slayton, you're going to have a little fall off. But boy, the defense has done a heck of a job for West Virginia. Not a lot of people knew the names coming in because they replaced so many starters, but they've really stood up to the challenge this year.
Alvarado waits for the snap and boots this one very high. Again, not real long, but a good coverage kick, and the fair catch is made at the 24 by Inkster. And we'll hold it right here. Reminder, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN, the Jimmy V Men's Basketball Classic. Number 24 Davidson takes on West Virginia. You'll see a couple of the nation's best three-point shooters. Davidson's Stephen Curry against West Virginia's Alex Ruoff. The Jimmy V Men's Classic, Game 1, Davidson, West Virginia. Texas takes on Villanova in Game number 2. Curry with 44 points in his last outing. And I saw Coach Huggins at the hotel this afternoon after they won over Cleveland State by 10 points. And here comes a late flag down. We may have a takedown by one of the offensive linemen. And I asked him,
holding, 79 on the offense, 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's 3 holds in like the last 5 plays. Anyway, just to complete the thought on Coach Huggins and what he had to say, I said, how do you like this team? And he said, I like them, but we can't shoot. He said, I have them that messed up. they can't shoot, and that's what we've got to get out of. We're in a rut. So, but anyway, they won. They won a close one on the road at Ole Miss the other night. With the penalty. First down, got to take it out to the 34-yard line. Here's Devine, and he'll take it for a gain to the 22-yard line at 7 on the carry. Tyler Roberts defensively. Jock Sanders with a pretty good block on the play to help his teammate get him almost back to where the spot of they had been sitting before the offensive holding call.
Yeah, Jock Sanders, the guy who had that ankle sprain earlier in the game, was playing mostly running back in the first quarter, now back to his more natural position at the slot wide receiver.
Pat White dumps it out of the backfield, and here's Devine again, and Noel is tackled by Murphy.
And this is nice management by Pat White and offensive coordinator Jeff Mullen. You get that big penalty on first down that backs you up, and you get a couple of little plays. And when you have a guy like Devine, he's such an explosive talent, find a couple of different ways to get him the ball. And now you've put yourself in position 3rd and 7 where you don't necessarily have to throw it.
This could be the last play of the third quarter as they are taking their time. It's a 3rd down. They need to take it out to the 34-yard line to pick up the first down. Here comes Devine, turns the corner, close, he's got it. First down, and then with the second effort out over the 40-yard line, gain of 14, and the clock will run down here, and we'll head to the final 15 with the West Virginia Mountaineers not only leading but extending this current drive as you watch this effort.
And good blocking on the edge there to spring Devine.
You know, it's interesting. He can run so close to the ground, and he's only 5'8". He really kind of hides a little bit, doesn't he?
He does, and he's not a very big guy, but sometimes hard to tackle because you don't have a lot of surface to grab.
So that's the end of 3 quarters, and as we head to the final 15 minutes, West Virginia 13-7.
It's a thin line between winning and losing. No second place trophies, either you winning or losing. Proof is in the pudding, which side are you choosing? Leave it on the field.
So we are back, and a postcard from Morgantown, West Virginia. Christmas parade as everybody is getting in the spirit. When you got this kind of weather with the snow coming down and some very chilly temperatures, easier to get really into the spirit of the holidays which are upon us.
And a whiteout tonight in honor of Pat White, one of the greatest players to ever put on a Mountaineer uniform, playing his last game in the home stadium.
Play action here. He steps up, going to go long, and the ball is dropped. Not a usual situation for Tito Gonzalez, and being a senior, as I had mentioned just a moment ago, he would love more than anything to go out with particularly a touchdown from his fellow senior, Mr. White.
And that ball was put on the money, and Gonzalez just didn't quite run through it. He went to start falling down to catch it, which he didn't have to do necessarily, and let it slip right through his fingers.
This running play, good second effort, but it's not going to go for much. It'll be 3rd down and long. The interesting thing about Pat White, and of course for those of you who know, Sam Huff, the great linebacker who played so many years with the Washington Redskins, is an alumnus of this school, and his number is retired, and there are a lot of people who think that Pat's number should be retired as well. It doesn't mean it's not going to be used anymore, but they put it in a retired situation, and they think that he has given this program every bit that Sam did as far as bringing recognition and good things, positive things. Pass at the far sideline. It's a little bit long, and it'll be 4th down.
Murphy defending on the play.
Well, but before the ball game, I'm going to show you this. This is when the snow had really come in. You can see a lot of footsteps around, people taking pictures around that. But they took a snowplow and made the number 5 out on the field to pay tribute to him.
And then they made it a dollar sign by running right through the middle of it, which is hopefully what Pat White will be doing next year for playing football.
Yeah,
he's getting some of those dollar signs.
Out of Daphne, Alabama. Is going to be roughing the kicker. The ball is back inside the 10-yard line. And Edwards. Tackle being made before the 10-yard line. But let's see. I don't think this is going to be. That's personal foul. Roughing.
Number 2 on the defense. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
Quentin Washington is the man who came in to hit McAfee. Let me ask you something.
McAfee's excited that he's getting run into.
He loves contact. The head coach said he loves to get down the field and to make tackles.
Well, and this is another huge penalty. And West Virginia lines up so funky on their punt protection. They really don't put anybody over to the right side, which I think is a pretty dangerous thing to do, because it does kind of give a free run at your punter. I'm not so sure what Bill Stewart, he's upset with a player. I think he might be upset with Marone, because I think Marone may have hit the returner out of bounds. But McAfee wears that line.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. We may have to check with the red hat. I think you're exactly right. We may have had a second penalty, or are they going to review it? I'm sorry, Ed, complete your thought.
Are they seeing if it's tipped? Yeah, they're going to check again. It's this exact same thing that happened last time, where they initially said the ball was tipped, so there can be no roughing or running into the kicker. On this one, if you go super slow, it doesn't look like it, and I didn't hear it. You can usually hear that double thumb.
The play stands is called on the field.
Yeah, and what they were reviewing was if that ball was tipped, then there couldn't be the penalty, which is exactly what they reviewed before. And threw the flag the last time once they realized it hadn't been touched. But McAfee is a special guy. I think, talking about NFL futures, I think that Pat McAfee.
I do too.
Maybe punter, maybe kicker, maybe all of the above.
I think he'd do both.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that the positioning of the hash marks improving is going to help him as far as taking away some of the more severe angles.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Well, this game has just totally come to a halt. Pat White throws his hands up like, what in the world is going on? They broke the huddle with 12 men, so they get a penalty now after getting the ball back in great field position.
Yeah, they got to get on back out there.
And White was, I think, upset with what came from upstairs. He's looking at the press box like, come on, guys. He's looking up for Coach Mullen, not happy with what happened.
Well, got to be careful now. Things getting a little chippy as as White is hauled down out of bounds by McKenzie. Clock stops 13:59. I think what we need to do right now is just let this clock continue to move, and too many stoppages here in the last few minutes.
Well, from the crowd's reaction watching on the big screen, they obviously wanted a late hit.
Oh boy. Pat White gets the pass away. That one's well overthrown, and White goes down hard at the 45.
Well, Pat White is not happy, and if we go back and look at this other play, yeah, I don't know how you don't call it. He gets dragged down by McKenzie way out of bounds, and Pat White, who's a very calm demeanor guy, went right up to the referee.
Says anything.
Yeah, but he had every right to. That should have been a 15-yard penalty on that out of bounds play.
So it's third down. They need to take it all the way to the South Florida 32-yard line. Drills this one, has it complete at the 22 to Jock Sanders. Good for 26 yards.
And Jock Sanders, who's been bouncing back and forth from slot receiver to running back, runs a post route, and Pat White saw him right away, knew that that's where he wanted to go, and throws a nice pass in the middle. That was just a nice move on Gachette. But Pat White, because of the penalty on the punt, getting a chance to maybe put a little icing on this score for his last game.
Well, the ball is loose, still loose. They fight for it, and it looks as though, I think South Florida, yes, South Florida has made the recovery, and that's George Selvey.
Well, White never handled the snap, and I think he made a large error by trying to pick it up and make a play with the ball. Well, sorry, that ball just squirted. Came right, that can happen in the cold.
He bumped it with his foot, which he kicked it away from himself.
Yep.
And then,
what he needed to do was just go slide and try to don't try to pick it up, just fall on it. The mistake he made was trying to pick it up, but that ball came out funny. Eric Jobe, the center, slipped right out of his hand as he went to make the snap.
So Matt Grothe hands the ball off, and a running play just straight inside. It's going to go for short yardage with Moore. South Florida in 2007 led the NCAA in turnovers forced with 42. And so far this year they have forced 17.
And remember, South Florida has beaten West Virginia 2 years in a row. And in those 2 losses, combined 10 turnovers for West Virginia. So that has been the problem for West Virginia playing South Florida. And now, because of that turnover, South Florida looking for a chance to take the lead.
Ford, the ball carrier, takes it to the 42. Slavonic on the defensive play.
One thing we have not seen much of from South Florida are stretch type outside plays. Everything has been into the middle. On a 3rd and short, you can try a run play here. Wondering if maybe trying to get to the outside might be the right way to go.
Timeout has been called by South Florida. 11:58 left in our ball game. 13-7 West Virginia.
Rule 1-4-9-G says that the rules now prohibit any attempt to record, either by video or audio means, the signals given by an opposing player, coach, or other team personnel.
Now, understand one thing. Jim Leavitt's not upset. He is joking with the young man. But the young man has a camera, and now the official goes over. That's what he's pointing at.
Yeah, and the young man is wearing West Virginia gear. Leavitt having a good time with it, but trust me, Jim Leavitt did not want somebody in West Virginia gear filming their signals.
3rd down, line to make the 46. You can see the players asking for more noise. Deep over the middle, got a man out there, and he overthrew him by 5 yards. Good heavens. I mean, Grothy had exactly what they were looking for, and he just flat overthrew him.
Boy. You know, as well as Grothy played at times in that first half, nice little stutter there by Love, runs right by the corner.
I mean,
the safety.
That's 6, is it not?
Yeah, that's absolutely 6. You know, what he did was he drove that ball, he threw it flat. And that's hard for a receiver to adjust to. You've got to put just a little bit more air and allow Love to run under it. But Grothy's going to have nightmares about that one.
Alvarado. Well, this one is not very high or very long. And now takes a huge West Virginia bounce and is going to come back to rest at the 33. So we'll hold it right here with 11:43 left in our ball game. We'll get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday. First at 11 a.m. Eastern, Chris Berman plays host to Sunday NFL Countdown. Then at 7 o'clock Eastern, Chris Berman and John Saunders deliver the day's highlights and scores during Sports Center. Sunday.
During the kick, holding number 57 on the return team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Boy, I didn't even see that penalty flag anywhere.
Let me finish this. I'm still doing Gone with the Wind. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM and Sports Center presented by Bud Light on ESPN Sunday.
Well, and now Pat White, who the last 2 times he's played against South Florida in losses has battled injuries. In 2006, he played with a severely sprained ankle and was very limited. Last year, he's knocked out with a thigh bruise. Now in his last ball game, probably getting tired and not being able to put some more points on the board and get a little more comfortable here.
Noel Devine looking for a spot to run and just not much there. Jack Arute, what do you got for us?
Ron, you and I and Ed know that all these players just rally around Pat White. Well, when he got pushed out of there and out of bounds and he got a little chippy, first thing he did when he came over to the sidelines, he went to every single player on the offense and said, look, we got to use our heads. Don't worry about it. Just stay focused and use your head. I think that's pretty heady on his part, thinking, hey, they may try to protect me and I don't need it.
Yeah. Well, and that, as you said, Jack, it's the kind of young man that he is. Rolling out, being left-handed. That ball almost got knocked out of his hands, and he's going to scramble to the 30-yard line. It's a gain of 6. Wow.
Well, that ball, as a defender reached in, did come loose, but very lucky that he could grab it.
And he's young. He sure did.
Yeah. But that was a very heads-up thing for Pat White to tell his teammates, because it's always the guy who hits back or pushes back who gets called. And he didn't want any of his teammates getting – it's tough enough going right now against the South Florida defense and West Virginia offense struggling. We don't need a 15-yard penalty against us, guys.
3rd down, and it's short. We need to take it out to the 33-yard line. Going to have the first down. Noel Devine will have 6 yards. Young on the tackle. But those kind of extra efforts are coming up big right now, because all of a sudden that clock is about to go under 10 minutes left in our contest. And you can see the snow coming down now harder than it has just about the entire evening.
Devine over 1,200 yards now on the season. He's short and plays shorter because he bends over that ball, and he's about 4 feet tall.
Ball is loose. Scramble for it at the 38-yard line.
Boy, the bottom of that pile, it's been on the few of those. There's some pulling and grabbing going on. You are kicking, doing whatever you can to try to get that ball.
West Virginia football. Boy, it looked as though the Bulls had recovered this thing.
Looked to me like it may have been, yeah, it was George Selvey coming over. He didn't necessarily get a hit on the ball. Devine's got
Starks got it, I believe. He wound up with it.
Good heads-up play.
Situation. So 2nd down, and they're going to wind up with 3 yards gained on the play. And it's hard to fuss at a ball carrier for not handling the ball with these kind of conditions and this kind of low temperature. Heavy pressure, and now he's loose. Up the near sideline, White will take it for the first down at the 47-yard line. How about that?
Well, you got to figure in Pat White's last game, you're going to have to see at least one of these plays. Watch Selvey. He's just going to, the defensive end is just going to come right inside, completely unblocked, and White just sees him at the very last second, sidesteps him and picks up the first down. It's almost like you almost had to have one of these plays in Pat White's last game.
Well, George upset with himself, but he is such a good player. And I'll tell you, when you got a small guy as quick as Pat White is, sometimes it's just almost impossible when they're in space to bring him down. As Devine catches that one, speaking of guys in space that are tough to bring down, that's a gain of 9 yards. Again, a minute ago I said we're about to go under 10. We're about to go under 8 minutes. And this drive just continues, chipping away.
And it's the quarterback White with the scramble that kept it going on that third down. And then that time he had 3 routes he was looking at downfield. Nothing, good protection. You take the check down and you pick up 8 yards. 8.5. Call it 9.
Yeah, darn close to it. Well, Devine is beginning to feel it. You don't have to be a big running back to kind of get lathered like the larger running backs do. You start to get that feeling. You start heating up, and right now it appears as though that Noel is getting that feeling. And the defensive coaches for South Florida talked about this. They said he is so elusive, and when he gets you in space, he's very, very hard to tackle.
And he does that thing where he kind of hops behind a lineman, and then he bounces to the other side. And you watch when he comes to the line of scrimmage, he's kind of huddled over the ball, so he gets lost in there.
Yep. Going to give it to him again. Broke a tackle, and he'll take it down to the 30-yard line. And Jackaroot, let's check with you.
Guys, there's one reason why Noel Devine does that. He studied Barry Sanders. He said one of the things that he saw was the way Barry, as slight as he was, would hide until the last minute behind his lineman and then dart out. So ever since he was a youngster, he tried to emulate his hero.
Hey, Jack, he's 15 carries tonight for 91 yards.
And remember, he didn't play in the first quarter.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and he does something else Barry Sanders did, that jump cut. And a lot of guys work on that now, where they'll get to one side, and instead of taking steps to move their body, they actually jump over, and they cover that ground faster. I've seen him do that 5 or 6 times to great effect tonight.
Clock is now under 7. Continuing to run. Pat White. In fact, he's milking that clock for every second they can get off of it. Going to snap the ball with about 12 seconds on the clock. Now White with a key block to get his man outside, and the quarterback almost helped him pick up a first down.
Well, how many times have you seen a play like this where the quarterback has to get involved and they don't really know what to do? Well, watch number 5. Comes all the way, it comes back and gets a cut block on Tyrone McKenzie. I mean, most guys would just kind of get in the way. He threw his head in there and got a cut block on the outside linebacker.
That's the reason your teammates love you when you do things like that. 3rd down, and I mean, probably just a foot or 2. Nice defensive charge and penetration by McKenzie, and the play blows up, and that is a very large loss. -6 on the play.
And with that -6, you've now got a much longer field goal. It was Selvey who came in and made Devine try to bounce to the outside, and now you're in a very long field goal situation because of that lost yardage.
Well, McAfee is on the field, and this looks as though it's going to be like a 48-yard attempt from the near hash mark. This time heading into the wind. Does he have the distance? No. Wide left. No good. Let's take a timeout. 5:36 left. 13-7. West Virginia holding on.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And in part by the 2009 Cadillac CTS.
So welcome back to Morgantown. Ron Franklin and Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from a snowy Saturday evening in Morgantown. By the way, South Florida has not started to drive beyond their own 36-yard line this evening. And right now they scrimmage from their own 31. Running play to the right side. That's going to be a gain of about 8 by Mike Ford. Now, the defense has been so, well, they've made a lot of really good changes at halftime. South Florida, until that last play, only had 56 total yards in the second half. So West Virginia's defense has done the job. But what you got to watch right now, you only got a 6-point lead. You bust one assignment, as was the case a while ago with the overthrown pass that would have gone for a touchdown. Can't let it happen right now. Getting real late. The ball carrier slips down. Williams lost his footing.
And I think that's the first time tonight we've seen where the weather had an impact on the footing, because that was a pretty standard cut by Williams and he lost his footing coming back. But because of that slip, now you're into your 3rd down and 2 situation. You know what we haven't seen from Grothy tonight? It's a wide receiver screen. You got triple receivers over here to the left. Maybe a little wide receiver screen to try to pick this up.
Or just trying to spread them out and let Grothy take it for the first down. Grothy throws it complete, and I mean he threw it in the only spot he could have to get a completion. It's good for 6 yards to Bogan, and it's enough for the first down.
And that's a big offensive lineman, and not much depth on this offensive line for South Florida. So they can't lose him. They only have 6 guys that they like to play with. But boy, that was thrown right there, because Allen was reached out trying to get that. But they're going to call a timeout, because even though Ryan Schmidt is trying to fake like he's not hurt, I think the referee thinks that he is going to have him go off. And, not many guys that can come in. Maybe Zach Herman. They only have really 1 or 2 backups.
And they're not being charged for the timeout. I mean, now, if they were, that would leave them with only 1, but they still have 2 timeouts remaining. Clock starts to run again at 3:55 and counting. Jeremiah Warren into the ball game now. That offensive line. Grothy deep down the middle, and the ball is tipped. Incomplete. Sands working against A.J. Love. Boy, that ball seemed to hang up there forever, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure why Matt Grothy needs to be throwing this ball. And they were all deep routes. The deep ball, that's just such a long throwing motion. I think the ball came out funny, and it really hung up in the air. And the receiver, Love, made a good play on it. But, boy, Grothy's just thrown a couple of balls downfield very poorly.
Defensive back almost intercepted that pass off his teammate's backside as it rolled down his back. Grothy, lots of time. Now pressure. And he throws incomplete. Had 2 receivers right there in the area.
Yeah, and this was confusion by the receivers not knowing who Grothy was throwing to. And I think that the underneath receiver,
Johnson and Bogan.
Yeah, watch as Grothy breaks out. He's going to have a receiver here and another receiver coming back after the play. He's going to break out. And he's throwing to the longer receiver, but it was Bogan who didn't know that and tipped it so that the receiver behind him couldn't make the catch.
Well, they throw, and on 3rd down, they get the first down at the 40-yard line to A.J. Love, and it's a gain of 15. Clock stops momentarily. 3 minutes, 27 seconds left in the ball game. Mountaineers lead it, but only by 6.
And think about Pat White standing on the West Virginia sidelines. A couple of missed opportunities. They didn't call that personal foul when he was hit out of bounds, but then that 3rd and 1, that was the key play, that 6-yard loss. And there's Pat White in his last game having to watch Matt Grothe bring this ball club down the field.
Grothe, 35, inside the 30, inside the 25. Langster will finally make the tackle, but it's a gain of 15 yards, and it's first down South Florida with plenty of time, 2 minutes 59 seconds, and the clock running.
And if I were South Florida right now, I know you don't want to get out of the rhythm, but if I were South Florida, I would eat as much of this clock as humanly possible. And for West Virginia, you've got to think about some of these timeouts at some point. Well, South Florida just gets called with an illegal substitution.
First down.
So it's going to make it first down and 15.
And that'll stop the clock, which helps out West Virginia.
Grothe now over 2,000 yards rushing in his career. You see the passing numbers. And total 9,910.
And he's chasing Pat White to see who will be the all-time leader in that statistic in Big East history. Of course, Grothe with another season of eligibility.
Here comes Taylor, near sideline, gets a block, takes it to the sideline, and he's going to have a gain of about 8 on the play.
And here is where, let's see the play clock. We're at 32 right now. If I were South Florida, I would let this thing get down to 15 or 10. They are not in hurry up. They don't need to be, but West Virginia sitting on those 3 timeouts. You don't want to think it's inevitable they're going to score, but if they do, you need some time.
Ed Glover's still not back in the ball game after that injury. And he's been huge for him tonight. Pressure going to be sacked on a 2nd down and 6. Sacked by J.T. Thomas. A loss of 6 on the play. And now South Florida wants to use one of their 2 timeouts to talk it over. They got a 3rd down and they need to take it all the way to the 15-yard line.
You know, we use that term red zone all the time. You know what that means for an offense? Beware of the blitz.
We will take a timeout. West Virginia hanging on. 1:40 left in our ball game. So Pat White sitting on the sideline waiting very patiently and for his defensive friends. The situation is a 3rd down and about 14 yards for South Florida to pick up the first down. And a movement at the line of scrimmage as the wide receiver came off the ball before it was snapped. Wow.
False start, 89 offense, 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Well, you are in for, you're definitely going to go for it on 4th down. So you back it up 5. Middle receiver up top. You back it up 5. Now you got to think about a play where you feel like you're going to get between 8 and 10, maybe 12 yards. So then you have a manageable 4th down.
1:40 left in the ball game. Grothe, great protection again. Looking, now delivers, got a man all alone at the 15-yard line. 1st and 10, South Florida. A gain of 18 yards to Marcus Edwards.
Well, Marcus Edwards is just having a whale of a ball game tonight. This is an excellent job. Remember those 2 catches he had in a row. Top receiver Edwards. Watch how he stays alive. He's just getting back by the sticks, and that's just awful, awful coverage. The cornerback dropped entirely too far off of that when it was that far for 1st down. The cornerback did not find where the 1st down marker was.
It is 1st down at the 15, actually about the 14.5-yard line, and the clock is all the way down to 1:09. Running play, hit and knocked down for a loss. Jamar Taylor by Ivy. Morty Ivy drops him for a loss. And the down now really doesn't matter because the clock is continuing to run and it's at 50 seconds.
And what West Virginia is going to do, they're pinning this on their defense. If they're not going to use these timeouts to save any time for their offense, they're relying on their defense to win the game for them right here.
38 seconds, 37. Grothe throws for the end zone, overthrew his receiver. Hester was the man that he wanted, and Hester got turned around and the pass was a bit too tall. Clock stops 33 seconds.
And now you're in a 3rd down situation with 33 seconds. You're in the ballpark of 5 to 6 plays. So if you pick up the 1st, you can still go up and kill it. and you have that one timeout, I think you want to try to keep that in your pocket, although 4-down territory, you can use it short of the sticks here.
Got to take it to the 5 to pick up the first down. Grothy. Right over the middle, incomplete. Love was the intended receiver, and it's now going to be a 4th down situation.
Well, that was just a bad-looking pass right from the start. Grothy was looking for the slant, and just the receiver didn't see it. They didn't know it, and here we come, because you've got 30 seconds left.
Offense has gone to the far sideline. Defense has come to the near sideline. We got 30 seconds left in the ball game. It is 4th down, and they got to take it to the 5. And let's take a look at key plays in this ball game tonight, Ed.
Well, it's been a couple of turnovers down in the red zone for South Florida. The fumble by Ford, and that was Glover, who's been out since he took a shot to his knee and had the interception in the 4th quarter. The defense for South Florida has stood up to the challenge. 6 yards lost, and you got to think, if they don't lose that 6 yards, McAfee probably makes that, and it's a 2-score game. So South Florida has hung in this game because their defense. The offense has really done no favors. Here you are, 4th down. You got to pick up the first. I think some type of fade might work.
Pat White down on the sideline. You see him in the box on the bottom left. Final game here in Morgantown for him. 4th down, and he got to take it to the 5-yard line, and a timeout has just been called by West Virginia. They still have one left. Wow. Well, right now, let's take a look at tonight's sharp image, HD image of the ball game. The seniors being introduced here tonight.
And the nation's all-time quarterback rushing leader, number 5, Pat White.
You know, that just before the ball game tonight as the seniors were being introduced. And the ones that we went to lunch with yesterday talked about what a mob scene it was going to be and how emotional. Well, right now, emotions are running high because it's 4th down, and the Mountaineers need to stop South Florida right here, leading by 6, 13-7. Grothy throws for the end zone, and it is incomplete and overthrown. Torres Johnson, the intended receiver.
And Johnson wanted pass interference, and I'm not so sure he shouldn't have gotten it. I believe it was Langster coming off his assignment. Johnson was the inside receiver. And watch at the very end of the play, Langster comes to try to make a play, and as Johnson works back to it, runs into him. I'm not so sure. I think Johnson could have made a play, and Johnson with his arms up, I'm not so sure that he shouldn't have got the call, and it would have been 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Instead, Pat White gets to come out for the last time, take a knee.
So he'll get the snap, take a knee, 21 seconds, counting down. They do not have to run another play. The Mountaineers are going to win this ball game 13-7 as the snow really starts to fall again. White this evening at 14 of 23, 141 yards and a touchdown passing, and rushing 15 for a total of 40.
Well, it was a special week here in Morgantown for a special young man. He gets his degree in liberal arts next week. He's been a fine representative of this university for many years.
And let's go down to Jackaroo.
Pat White, congratulations on the victory. What does this mean to you personally? Then we'll talk about your team.
Definitely a great feeling to lead this Mountaineer Nation with a W. Hey, good shit, man.
Matt Grothy congratulating his fellow quarterback. Let's talk for a moment about Jim Levitt also offering his congratulations. Let's talk for a moment about, I watched you on the sidelines there when your defense had to hold at the end of the game. What were you thinking?
Huh? they were going to come up with a big play. Good job. And they did. I mean, they stopped and they were backed up against the wall, but they came out fighting and got us a victory.
Pat, when you look at your career here, what stands out the most?
This last W. This last win is beautiful.
Congratulations.
Yes,
man.
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Patrick, good game. Thank you.
Once again, our final score, West Virginia 13 and South Florida 7. And now for Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Ron Franklin. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So tonight, a man that many feel as though his jersey should be retired as well as maybe the greatest Mountaineer ever, Pat White. Now let's send it to the studio, and Wendy Nix standing by. Wendy?